Hey everybody, it's Ruby here today, and today I wanted to do a book review on The Rorschach Texts by Stephen Hall. This is a book that a bunch of you had recommended to me for quite a while, especially after talking about House of Leaves and If Upon a Winter's Night a Traveler, both of which are experimental texts. So this is experimental as well, but it is not something that I really got around to until someone that I started dating had it on his shelves, and I was like, hey, might as well read it, and he's like, yeah, you should read it, you liked House of Leaves, might as well. So I read it, I think, back in the summer, so it's been quite a while since I read it. But I wanted to do a review on it anyways because so many of you guys had talked about it and because it is definitely within the genre of things that I like. And what's really funny is that I actually found notes for doing the review a while ago. So even though I had disappeared for 5 months, I had still been thinking about things to talk about. So, this is about Eric Sanderson, who has amnesia. He has forgotten everything about his past, and he suddenly wakes up and realizes he's being hounded by an unknown source. And the previous version of him has told him, hey, don't freak out, but you need to read these letters and these videos, and you need to figure out this way of preventing the what ends up being the shark from coming after you. So he goes searching for an academic who is researching his case. And so the most of it is basically an adventure with a couple of people he meets along the way, where he is trying to understand the research behind these conceptual, sort of abstract creatures that are made out of words and concepts. It is Stephen Hall's first novel, and I have to say that you notice it a little bit. It's a little bit straightforward, not particularly textured or in-depth in terms of just his general writing or plot style. I did feel a little bit like it could have been like a young adult novel that took elements from books that he had been reading previously and then just kind of scrambled it into this love story, which is created into this sort of experimental novel. So I think it was either described for House of Leaves that it was about a romance, and I think this is too, but this was a little bit more infuriating because he does fall in love with someone who's a lot younger than him, so it was a little bit harder to get into the characterization of the main characters. The ideas were really cool. There was a lot of references that were things that even I had to look up, or things that I knew not a lot of people would be getting. There was a quote from Borges, which is the guy who did like Labyrinths, which I had mentioned a couple of times in previous videos. And there are some ideas that are mentioned that are very close to House of Leaves, so about space, about the uncanny, about being, and general, like, just physical experiences, and in their relationship to words and concepts. So that's something that I think is super important for books like this, because that is what it's doing, is it's sort of playing on the reader's interaction with the book that it's reading. So I think that that's something that it did pick up on, but I think that the experience of reading it was perhaps a little less visceral than other books that I had been reading. It was sort of almost a book about books that are about those experiences, rather than a book that tries to invoke those experiences, if that makes sense. I think that this book is something that I would recommend for someone who is first starting out in these sorts of books, someone who wants an introduction to the sort of things that I'm interested in. And if I had read this before I had read House of Leaves, I think I would be a lot more enthralled by it, because it would be something that is visually interesting and invokes a lot of interesting theories. So I think overall the writing itself wasn't super groundbreaking, the plot wasn't super groundbreaking, it was more of a straightforward adventure thriller rather than anything else specifically that it could be written for, but that the subject matter and what was trying to be achieved was really interesting in terms of the subject, and some of the very visceral feelings of loss, I think, was done really well in this sort of book. I think it is, I would probably give this like a 3 out of 5. I think that's what I gave it on Goodreads and like 50 book pledge. So that is it for the review. Hope you liked it. and read it if you want. Comment down below what your thoughts were, if you read it before or after House of Leaves, or if there were particular ideas that you really liked that were in it. And I will see if maybe you'll change my mind. Otherwise, comment, like, subscribe, do your thing, and I will talk to you later.